JB here. JB here. Hope everyone's doing outstanding. Friday, September 12th, 9:16. Talk really quick about the market. Some names I'm looking at go from there. S&P futures slightly in the green here, about up a little over a 10% on this great Friday. Markets up about 1.6% or so on the week on the heels of that inline CPI data, the weaker than expected weekly jobless claims. You had PPI data cooler than expected. It kind of like just sets the stage for no surprises, right? I wouldn't even say no surprise, but the market's been pricing in this 0.25% rate cut for some time now, and now it's kind of getting some expectation for a jumbo 0.5% rate cut. Uh, we'll see. All eyes will be on Wednesday. And then you also have the AI situation, right? And I mean that's been going on for a long time, but the next I guess the argument now is when does this end, right? So Market Watch always likes to have their little headlines or fear headlines, especially when markets hit the trifecta today, right? Nasdaq, Dow, S&P all at all-time highs yesterday for the second time this week, and then the front page. It's hard to predict the stock market top, but two red flags have this sign eject button. And the one argument they make is the capex spend, right? I mean, you can make, I think, what, 30 something percent of the market's now made up of the AI names or more than, or at least the gains. So you can make the case that at some point when the market does pull back, it's probably going to be AI related, right? The slowdown in capex spending, maybe negative in regards to the capex spend growth year over year. So you can make that bear case. That rationalization makes sense. It's just timing. When does that happen? I mean, we just could just go on until 2028. It's funny too. Then you look at Oracle this week, and Oracle had the earnings, and it wasn't like monster earnings per se. It was that big 500, half a trillion dollars in RPOs, right? Expected revenue, right? So some of that, and then you make the argument, 300 billion of that's from OpenAI over 5 years. So it's really only 200 billion. It's when you're talking hundreds of billions of dollars, I mean, it's insane to think of anyway. But people like to make those the other side of the argument, right? That OpenAI, what they generate, how are they going to pay for 60 billion just for Oracle, right? On a yearly basis. They don't even generate that in profits yet. So these are all things that down the road. But at some point, that capex story comes to an end, right? And then what's the next leg for the market? So hopefully, there's something to pick the markets up when that happens. But for now, it creates some great bearish fodder for continued discussion. Take a look at the SPY upper Bollinger Band six. I think it was 655.31. So maybe that might be a snapback spot if we do have one of those patented sell off till 10:30 kind of moves. We'll be watching that for potential support. If not, I mean, what else can really derail this rally outside of some crazy headline shenanigans? So pay attention to that. But for me, I'm open to some lottos here today, and I'll be watching some names. All right, so not just individual names. Duolingo, I did my little rant yesterday afternoon, kind of going into it. Thanks, Sit Up, for bringing up the name at the morning, yesterday morning, and you saw it was at $300. I went and got those lotto calls, ran all the way up to 315 or so. I was able to lock some in to cover some costs, and then I held the last. I didn't get many. Because it's a name. You look at the chart, I'm like, this thing might go 325 today, if not higher, and then 345 plus into next week. And it's one of those names that when it's like misunderstood, it creates opportunity. And I think people look at Duolingo and they think, oh, it's like a Rosetta Stone. It's a language learning company. People want to learn Spanish, they go use Duolingo, and that's it. I mean, that's it. But some of the business, it's not all of it. It's a learning platform, and they're scaling out to other things. So uh, to me, I think it's somewhat misunderstood. That creates opportunity. Also creating opportunity was the big pull from earnings. A lot of that having to do with their CTO leaving. So I think there's an opportunity here to play for a bounce. If it gets over 325 or maybe even 320 in the morning, I might look for some strikes into next week. So that's Duolingo. And then I went and got some more SERV calls. Finally, the January strikes. I'm not going to go on a rant on here, but 1375, then $18. I think there's a name that can get some FOMO at some point. So never wrong, just early. I say that way too much recently, but at some point the FOMO is going to come in, hopefully before the end of the year, right? So that's SERV. Reddit pretty much flat as a pancake yesterday. And, its swing intraday usually has 10, 15, $20 intraday swings. That was not the case yesterday. So, I mean, that typically it stocks at all-time highs. You would think that that would be a negative. It's a good sign where Reddit usually would have a big pull. So still looking for some 300 strikes. I was talking about on the rant, the 300s, I think they're like a buck 60 at times. then $1.40. If I can get some for $1, I might look to get some 300 into next week if it holds, at least closes, holds flat in the morning. Some other names too. MDB still watching. I mean, it's been a tough one to trade. I was trying to trade it on the heels of Oracle earnings, but it's always seemed to have nice moves on Fridays. Don't be surprised if I find some bids today. I get some MDB. Arista Networks too. I don't see any news, but there's a huge slew of analyst changes this morning. Stock was at 158 in the pre-market, and it's reverse course down here at 149. So that could be a decent lotto if I can find some news. MDB, Arista Networks. Oh, and then just some other names. IIPR laying an egg again. I mean, it closed up in the green, but not over 57.50. Still waiting for that to break. Adobe and Restoration Hardware after the close yesterday. RH, rough earnings, right? Miss, lower guidance. I'm not sure if I'm going to play that one for a bounce, but Adobe might be a bounceable play here. You know, Adobe's similar in this, I would call it similar apples to apples with Reddit, but it's in that kind of category of, hey, AI is going to disrupt their business. And the earnings yesterday kind of said, wow, maybe not. And, you know, they're trying to get into different avenues that help, you know, prevent that from happening and showed some growth. So, you know, you have analysts, again, divisive. There's some neutral, but then you have some that are, you know, reiterating outperforms or market performs and raising price targets. So it could be a nice bounce. I was talking about it at the Rant yesterday afternoon. The premiums were insane. You had to go $100 out of the money and they were still expensive. So we'll get some premium crush at the open. Might be some lotto. So I'll be watching that. And that's it, folks. You know, Nike, disappointing, sitting here pretty much flat in the pre-market. Another day where it should have been over 75, over that 74.95. I'll still be waiting there. GameStop at least showed some life yesterday. Once that catches fire, maybe it's going to take a weekend of hype. And that's it, folks. Let's have a great day. I'll be back. Rock and roll.